The speech today is mostly on having a pleasing voice, using a balance of volume, pitch, and rate, and also incorporating lessons learned from his previous speeches. The title of the speech today from Doug is Becoming MISO QTD?
MISO.
MISO?
Yep.
Sorry. And I'd like to welcome Doug.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
How long is your speech?
It's 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you.
So, well, good morning, fellow Toastmasters. This morning, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on how a company can become a qualified transmission developer, or a QTD, in MISO. And MISO, if not everyone is aware, is the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator, and they operate both the transmission grid and the wholesale electric market across 15 states in the central U.S. and the Canadian province of Manitoba. FERC Order number 1000, which came out a few years ago, removed something from the transmission planning process called the right of first refusal. And the right of first refusal was a principle under which whenever a new electric transmission project needed to be built, the existing incumbent transmission owner, the existing incumbent transmission owner and transmission operator in that area would be allowed to build that project without having to deal with any competition. When FERC Order 1000 came out, it removed that right of first refusal for some projects. In the MISO region, those projects where the right of first refusal no longer applies are called market efficiency projects and multi-value projects. So for those two kinds of projects, who is allowed to build the transmission project is open to competitive bidding. And market efficiency projects are transmission projects where the economic benefits of the project will outweigh the costs, even if the new project isn't needed to maintain reliability of the system. And multi-value projects are a special class of projects which are basically needed to connect wind generation, which is usually located in remote areas, to connect that generation to load centers. So we frequently see that where wind generation is being built in western North Dakota, for example, and you need to get that power to Minneapolis. The transmission project to do that would be a multi-value project. So those kinds of projects are open to competitive bidding in MISO going forward. But to be able to build one of those projects, to even be able to bid for the right to build that project, you have to become a qualified transmission developer, or a QTD. MISO runs a process every year to allow companies to sign up to do this. The process begins in January, usually around January 31st, but the date can vary just a little bit. And at the end of January, MISO will post an application on its website for any interested companies who want to try and sign up. Once that application is posted, companies have 30 days to complete their application and submit it to MISO, along with a $20,000 non-refundable application fee, because those folks at MISO need to pay their bills, I guess. 30 days after the application is submitted, or within 30 days, MISO will review your application, and within 30 days will notify you if the application was not complete. This is called a cure period, and it gives MISO the opportunity to say, hey, we can't consider your application yet because you left off this piece of information. And if MISO sends you that deficiency notice, then you have another 30 days after that You have these compounding 30-day periods. You have another 30 days after that to submit the additional information that MISO needs. And MISO is very adamant about having a zero tolerance for being late on this. So if you're 1 day late, that's too bad. You have to wait until the cycle starts over next January. Now, 180 days after the initial application is submitted, so again, you're assuming that you would have submitted your application around the end of February. 180 days after that, MISO notifies all of the applicants whether or not they are qualified and whether or not, as QTDs, they can begin bidding on projects. So that's the end of that process. And even if you are qualified, here's the fun fact, even if you do get qualified, it really starts over every year for everybody anyway, because you have to go through a renewal process every year, every January. Even if you've already been qualified, you have to go back and show MISO, yes, we should continue to be qualified, and here's why. Now, what goes into this application? It's not just indicating, hey, we'd really like to join in on this. There are a number of things that MISO will require from you. One of them is just your general legal and contact information. So we are Consumers Energy, we are headquartered in Jackson, Michigan, our CEO is John Russell, that sort of thing. That's pretty easy. Where it gets more difficult is you have to describe either your current transmission operations or your business implementation plan for how you're going to develop a transmission business going forward. And Carl's kind of laughing because I think he's kind of familiar with this. So you can give your current information, the total transmission lines and substations and all those things that you own and operate, and a description of all of the personnel that you have engaged in supporting that. But what if, like Consumers Energy, you don't actually currently own any formal transmission? Then you have to provide an implementation plan, and in that you have to lay out how you plan to use the people and the resources that you currently have, or how you are going to go out and get needed people and resources that will enable you to construct, own, and operate transmission facilities, including procurement, engineering, management, etc. There are lots of things involved in this. So all of this information must be very robust for MISO to analyze whether you will be qualified or not. And lastly, you have to cover how you're going to finance projects. You have to present a capital plan for how your company can finance projects worth up to at least $5 million. You have to showing your audited books, your credit ratings, whatever it is to show that if you get into building transmission projects, you are going to be able to pay for it. So, you do all that, MISO says you are qualified. And what does that get you? That gets you into the next step, the real new frontier in transmission planning and construction. That allows you to start bidding on projects, which is a process that MISO is still in the process of really fleshing out the rules for. So once that's all set, then maybe I'll come back with another speech and explain how the bidding process works. But in the meantime, now you know a little bit more about how one becomes a qualified transmission developer in MISO. Thank you very much.